Hey everybody, and welcome to another amazing episode of GSP TV. I'm so happy that you're here with us today, and this week is our second week of March Madness. That's right, last week on GSP TV we started our March Madness theme. It's a bit of a spin-off from the March Madness basketball. Our obviously is not to do with basketball. Our March Madness is to do with getting out of debt and doing it in as quick and efficiently as possible. So last week we talked about ways to cut down on spending and start increasing your income. Today I'll be talking about the Elite 8 tips for kicking your debt without ruining your financial credibility. Now I have a list of do's and don'ts to share with you, and to help us with one of our don'ts, we have on this week's episode, again, Greg McTaggart, who is the president and CEO of Christian Credit Counselors, and we'll be talking to him on the program about some of the dangers of debt settlements. So don't go anywhere. You aren't going to want to miss the horror story we're going to share with you a little later in the show. So before we get into this week's practical teaching, I want to share some feedback we received from a church member who is currently taking the Good Samaritan program at their church. Christopher said, "We're working really hard to create and maintain an emergency fund. By doing so, it is pushing us to establish a reasonable and realistic spending limit and budget for each month. Thank you." So thank you, Christopher. We're so glad to hear the changes you're already making in your financial life. Remember, if you have any feedback or questions to share, please do so in the comments or connect with us online, and we'll make sure to respond and help you if you need it. And also remember that if anybody watching the show today has any kind of credit card debt or unsecured loans, that give one of our Christian credit counselors a call and see what we can do to help you out. It's a free call and they're available to help you. Now it's time to get into part 2 of March Madness, which we're calling the Elite 8 Tips for Kicking Your Debt and Keeping Your Credit Score. So here are some do's to follow. Number 1 is stop spending. It seems so simple, but that is the first step. Stop spending money on things that you don't need. I like the saying that we spend money we don't have on things that we don't need to impress people that we don't even like. If you do not have the money, don't buy it. It can't get any more simpler than that. That is the first step. Check your budget, check if you've got the money. If you don't have it, then look to save up for it or don't buy it at all. Number 2 is pay more than the minimum payment when you're paying off your debt. So if you only make the minimum payment, you will never get out of debt. See, have you noticed that now there is a mandatory chart on your monthly credit card statement that shows how long it will take you to pay off your credit card by only making the minimum monthly payment? And now it also shows that it will take half as long if you only pay a little more than the minimum each month. So here's the deal. Whatever debt that you have, pay more than what they ask you to. So for your credit cards, you pay a little bit more. If you have auto debt, you pay a little bit more. If you have a mortgage payment, you pay a little bit more. What that does is it not only reduces the amount of interest that you will pay over the life of that loan or balance, but it will also get you out of debt a whole lot quicker. Number 3 is to use the debt snowball method. To explain how the debt snowball works, we're going to show a clip from the Good Samaritan program DVD series, so check this out.
Now some of you may have heard of the debt snowball principle. It is not a new concept, and various people have given this process different names, but I like debt snowball the best. This concept explains the best way to get out of debt by taking small steps, paying off one debt at a time. Let's assume you have 5 outstanding creditors. Let's use the following example. The first card you have is with Best Buy, owing $1,000 at 21%. The second with Target Visa, owing $5,000 at 28%. The third with Wells Fargo car loan, owing $7,500 at a 7% interest rate. The fourth with Citibank Visa owing $10,000 at 18%. And last, a credit line with Toyota Financial Car Loan owing $16,000 at a 4% interest rate. So what order should the debt in this example be paid off? Let's suppose you put your entire surplus on the Best Buy card while making the minimum payment on the other debts. The reason we start with Best Buy, even though it has a lower interest rate than Target, is because the debt amount is only $1,000 and should be easy to pay off quickly. Getting one debt completely paid off as quickly as possible will give you the confidence and momentum to finish paying off your debts. What's next? Should the Target Visa be paid off before Wells Fargo? Yes, because there is a big gap in interest rates between these two. So this is most likely the best way to debt snowball through this example. Once Best Buy and the Target card are paid off, your entire surplus, which is what you were previously paying towards Best Buy, plus what you are currently paying to Target Visa, can now all be applied to the next debt on the list, which would be Citibank, with the 18% interest rate. You continue to do this all the way down the list. By the time you get to your Toyota loan at the bottom, you should be paying all the money that you had been paying towards Best Buy, Wells Fargo, Target Visa, and Citibank, plus what the minimum payment was towards Toyota Financial, and any additional surplus income.
So that's a great clip showing you how powerful the debt snowball is and how it can work in your favor. Number 4 is get help if you need it. Sometimes the debt snowball isn't as effective if several of your interest rates are just too high to make a significant dent each month. This is where you can call a non-profit credit counseling company such as Christian Credit Counselors to see if they can lower your interest rates and monthly payment, which will get you out of debt years faster and saving you thousands in interest payments. Being on the program is its own form of snowball because as you start paying off accounts, your monthly payment will stay the same, allowing you to put more money toward your next debts. Now, there are many don'ts while you're trying to get out of debt. So let me share 4. Number 1, do not use payday loans or cash advances to make some quick cash. The interest you pay on these are outrageous and it isn't even worth it in the end. Sometimes the interest on these loans can be as high as 400%. Number 2, in the same way, do not use the convenience checks offered by your credit card company to pay your rent or other bills. These convenience checks are usually only convenient for the credit card companies because there is a sizable fee that comes with using these checks, and once you use them, you rack up even more debt plus the interest on top of that. Number 3, bankruptcy. Do not file for bankruptcy unless it is in your absolute final option. Bankruptcy will stay on your credit report for up to 10 years. Attorney fees can cost up to thousands of dollars, and it will be extremely difficult to qualify for a home or auto loan, let alone any other type of loan in the future. And 4th on the list, probably my pet hate out of all the don'ts, is debt settlement. And we're going to be talking to Greg McTaggart in just a minute, and we'll be discussing some of the dangers of debt settlement. But just to finish off our list of don'ts, don't use a debt settlement company to try and settle your debt, period. If you have the money to settle your debt for a smaller amount, do it yourself. Negotiate with the banks yourself. Don't use a debt settlement company. Don't pay a company to take money from you and not pay your creditors. Your credit score will be ruined and you'll probably have to file for bankruptcy by the time you realize what you've gotten yourself into. And just in case you didn't hear it, the other couple of times I said it, don't use a debt settlement company. Run, beware, and we're going to talk a little bit more why I'm so firm with that right after this with Greg McTaggart. Hey everybody, and welcome back to GSP TV. As mentioned earlier in the program, we have with us right now for a very important interview about debt settlement, the president and CEO of Christian Credit Counselors, Greg McTaggart. Greg, it's so good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Mark.
Again. And I need to mention as well that you're also the founder of the Good Samaritan program, the DVD series. That was your brainchild, and I know churches all over the nation have been blessed by that.
Thank you.
Now, we're talking about debt settlement because we want anybody watching this program today, we're wanting pastors or church members to beware of debt settlement and how destructive this industry can be on individuals, and we've certainly seen our fair share of people that have contacted Christian Credit Counselors, and we've in most cases we've been able to help salvage and help these people and so forth. So now we're going to talk a little bit about one particular example of a lady. We're going to call her Jane. That's not her real name. And we're going to talk through what happened, what we've done to help her, and also talk a little bit about some of the other dangers of debt settlement. So we've got some documents here as well. So we're going to talk through some of these because we've got all of her documentation here. But Jane, let me give you some background and then we're going to bring you in. Now, Jane was a lady who was current on all her accounts. She had an above average paying job. She had high interest rates, and her total amount of debt was only just a little bit over $35,000. So unfortunately, instead of seeking the advice of a credit counselor, she went to a law firm and enrolled in a debt settlement program. And so we're going to have a look at Exhibit A. This will be up on your screen, and have a look at the contract here that we have. If we just have it here somewhere. Okay, Exhibit A. So as we can see, they're estimating a settlement to the creditor of around $14,000, Greg. I mean, her debt's around $36,000. But look at the fees that are here. We've got initial retainer fees, $850, administrative fees, $5,500, monthly service fee, $3,000.
Exactly.
So add on the fees to the $14,000 and you got $24,000. It still looks pretty good. But here's the problem. This is only an estimate. It's like me saying, hey, I think I'm going to be able to get you 20 grand off your debt.
Exactly.
You pay me 10 grand, but it's not guaranteed. I don't know if it's going to happen. In fact, the majority of times, debt settlement companies, because they don't have relationship with creditors, the majority of the time it never happens. And what happens is that the debt settlement company walks away with all the money. The poor consumer is left holding a bill that now not only has $36,000, but it's probably ballooned to $40,000 or $50,000. They're in a far worse off place than they were before. And in the case of this case of Jane, she is far worse off.
Exactly.
So I guess the question that we want to touch on and talk about a little bit is, how do debt settlement companies really get away with this?
Well, I mean, first off, I mean, they lure you in with these enticing offers. You see them all over the internet, TV, they entice you in, and then you might wind up at a place that you think is a law firm. This example, is in a different law group. You think, oh, these are lawyers. They're not lawyers. They're using under some lawyer's name, but you're never actually talking to the lawyer.
Wow. Okay.
So they lure you in thinking, oh, I'm doing something proper, I'm doing something legal, I'm doing something proactive, and they have you sign these huge agreements that basically, in the agreement, says that they don't have to do anything. They promise absolutely nothing. They guarantee you even less. But the one thing they're going to do is take a lot of your money.
And are they even negotiating with the creditors? Or are they just taking the money?
Well, I mean, negotiation is a wide open term, okay?
Right.
Once you quit paying your bills and they encourage you to stop paying your bills because they're not going to negotiate you while you're paying them, obviously. So they encourage you not to pay your bills. So that forces you to go to a collection agency, okay? The collection agency always wants to talk about getting paid. I mean, that's the first thing out of their mouth is, we want to get paid. Well, that'd be great. Well, where's the money going to come from? Well, you've paid all this money up front to the debt settlement company, in this case, over $9,000. Where's your money? Well, gee, I don't have any money. Well, that's your problem. And they leave you holding the bag, pretending like, oh, well, we got this settlement arrangement and now it's your problem, not mine. And they've misled you the whole way down the path. They haven't explained to you all these outrageous fees, how your debt is going to balloon up from, in this case, $36,000, well over 40-some thousand by not paying. Those penalties keep accruing. Your credit's going to be destroyed. They don't explain any of these things to you clearly. They write up these 20-page contracts and have you sign, but who really sits down and looks at all 20 pages?
Yeah, exactly.
It's very misleading.
Yeah. And I should say to the viewers here that, you know, I believe the total fees added up to $9,500. And here's the thing, really, is that you can do this on your own.
Absolutely.
All you have to do for, you know, be your own debt settlement person, really, is to stop paying your creditors and try and negotiate with them to cut the amount that you owe. So that is the irony of it. She's paid all this money to this debt settlement company when really she could have just done what they've done on their own. But I guess they use the word law or lawyers, and she thinks there are things that they can do that she can't.
Right.
And I think that's where the great con is, that a lot of people don't realize that if really you want to stop paying with your creditors and you want to negotiate with them, you can do it yourself. Just contact them by phone or email, stop paying them, which I wouldn't recommend doing, by the way. But if you did want to do that, then you wouldn't need a debt settlement company to do that. So,
and that's how the trap works.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, if you have a good job, if you have assets, I mean, they're going to come after you. Not paying your bills, sticking your head in the sand is not a solution, and that's what these people suggest. Don't pay your bills, shut off your phone, put your head in the sand, ignore them until it goes to a collection agency, and we'll try to work out a deal with them. And the key word, try to work out a deal. There's no guarantees.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this, the more I look at this contract, the more amazed I am. I mean, here we're talking about how they're only possibly estimating maybe they'll be able to settle for 40% of the debt, and it's going to take 44 months. So here you are faithfully paying money to this debt settlement company for 44 months, ignoring your creditors.
Exactly.
And you don't. There's no guarantee that at the end of the 44 months that they're even going to be able to settle the debt. And like you said, what happens in most cases is that they owe far more than what they did originally. The debt isn't settled at all. It's way, way out of control.
Exactly.
And they come after you with lawsuits and collection. They garnish your wages. You can go to jail.
Right.
And they don't, you know, and like you said, they hide that in the contract. It's there, but it's tough to find.
Exactly. And a great example of that is the payment schedule that you've printed out for everyone. I mean, if you look at the year's worth of payments this woman made, I mean, they were having her make $555 payments each month, of which they took a $140 retainer fee, a $255 administrative fee, a $69 monthly service fee, a $9 DPG custodial fee. Who even knows what that is? So out of this woman's $555, $79 went into a magical savings account to help settle her $35,000 in debt. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're taking advantage of her.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And, I mean, it even says in the agreement in page 8 of section 11 that the law firm does not warrant or guarantee any specific results of negotiation, including settlement amounts or percentages, and client may not rely on any such option or estimate as a guarantee or regard any such expression as anything other than an opinion or estimate. Client further acknowledges that any enrolled creditor may try to collect the debt and sue the client. Oh my gosh, I mean,
it's beautiful, isn't it? Estimate,
crazy.
Opinion, maybe, could be, maybe. I mean, it's so far-fetched that, you know, anybody who would look at this or really read into it, who are really counting on this to work, I mean, they're promising absolutely nothing, and they're delivering.
Yeah. So as we can see also in section 13, the client is agreeing not to negotiate, which means they are not going to talk to their creditors. And so this is really not a good thing. And this is what happens. I mean, if you don't talk to your creditors and don't pay them, what's going to happen?
Exactly. I mean, you don't pay them, you refuse to talk to them. They have standard procedures, and you go into default, you go into charge-off, and then they send you to a collection agency.
Yeah.
And most people don't understand half of those terms.
Yeah.
Some people think, oh, I'm charged off, I don't owe them money anymore. No, that's not what it means. It means your credit just got destroyed, and they're going to send it to a collection agency to sue you.
Yeah.
Or come after you in some way.
Now, and you notice on the payment schedule that the payment to the debt settlement company is really high at the start and it gets less as it goes on.
Exactly.
And why is that?
Well, they front load their fees.
Right.
Because their failure rate is almost, 99%. I mean, let's face it, these people fail. They pretend like they advertise these numbers that they have a great success rate. They have a good success rate at getting someone to offer a settlement.
Yeah.
Okay? Offering and being able to pay is a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah.
Okay? So they front load their fees where they take all their fees as soon as they can in the first 8-9 months before you start going to these collection agencies and they start suing you. because they can't stop that.
And that's what's happened in this case with Jane, is that she's pretty much paid all the fees, and suddenly she's realized now, and I'll bring you to a quick update here of what's happened, is that her creditors are suing her, and had she stayed on the program, they would have had her wages garnished. So none of her debt has been paid off by this debt settlement company. The creditor does not want to have anything to do with this debt settlement company. And so she is in a position now where 3 of her 6 accounts, actually her balances have increased. Her Amex has gone from a couple of $100 higher. Her Capital One is a couple of $1,000 higher.
Correct.
So she owes more money. She's paid $5,000 to this debt settlement company. About $4,000 of that, I believe, are in fees, and she only got back about $1,000 of that, which they were holding in an account for her. So what's happened with her here is that her debt has gone up. Her credit score is ruined. Her credit cards are now in overflow. She owes much more than what she did than when she originally started. And because it takes some time for you to realize that debt settlement is a scam and it doesn't work, but it's too late because they front-loaded the fees, so they get all their fees up front before you even realize how bad a program it is. Now, had they come to Christian credit counselors, explain the difference, because I just hear so many people saying, oh, are you like debt settlement? Well, obviously the answer is no.
Yeah, exactly. But before you jump into the benefits of credit counseling, I mean, the last slap in the face they give to poor Jane is, you know, oh, your creditors don't want to work with you. Oh, they're going to sue you. Oh, they're going to garnish you. Oh, they're coming after you. Coincidentally, we're in bed with this lawyer who'll file bankruptcy for you for an extra $3 grand.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, on top of everything else, on top of the debt settlement company taking all their money and their fees and their program, they dig her for another $3 grand. To file bankruptcy
because they've forced her into that option.
They've channeled her right there, and she's got no choice.
Amazing. Okay, so definitely, you know, Christian credit counselors or credit counseling is the way to go. Tell us a little bit about how Christian credit counseling differs, how we handle it, and then also let's have a look at some stats on what how we would have helped her had she come on board with us, and how we are helping her now, of course.
Exactly. I mean, again, we're professional, non-profit, licensed and bonded credit counselors. We're accountable to the client to give the client the best advice based on their circumstance. We're giving advice on how to handle their bills. One example is us handling their bills, which is called a debt management plan, where we handle the bills, we negotiate with their creditors, work out lower repayment arrangements, we always keep the communication going, we always keep the payments going to the creditor, we always maintain their credit in the best possible plan that we can.
And FICO actually says that credit counseling does not affect, you know, a person's credit score, which seems pretty obvious because, you know, basically
you're still making the payments.
Yeah, you're making the payments. You're making and the balances are decreasing.
And they're decreasing. Your payments are made on time. The only thing that we're doing is asking the credit card companies, hey, this person's struggling a little bit. Can you lower the interest rate to help them out, which lowers their payment, which gets them out of debt so much quicker. Yeah, so it's a huge benefit.
And what is the fee?
The fee is $35. Our average person pays $26 because we're a nonprofit. We help some people for free.
Wow, and Jane was paying around $500 a month. And it was $35.
For nothing.
And here's the big difference. Debt settlement don't have a relationship with banks or creditors. This particular debt settlement company had an F with a Better Business Bureau. And Christian Credit Counselors, what's the rating on BBB? An A rating. And for over 20 years, have helped over 300,000 people get out of debt in less time. And how many thousand creditors does Christian Credit Counselors have a relationship with now?
Thousands and thousands of creditors we work with every single day.
Yeah, and we have those pre-existing relationships.
It's been set up. I mean, credit counseling has been around since the 1950s. I mean, it's nothing new. Debt settlement is a new twist that these guys are out trying to make a quick hustle buck and steal. I mean, if you check anywhere, the government website, FTC, the Better Business Bureau, any site you're going to check, the State Attorney General Office, they're all going to be overwhelmed with complaints from these people taking advantage of people that are having financial problems.
So now also, Greg, what some other people may not realize about debt settlement is that even if by the 1% of debt settlement companies that manage to negotiate and actually slice off your debt, you know, that debt that is forgiven well, is not forgiven by the IRS.
Right. And again, to be clear, the 1% that actually comes up with the money and pays the bill, that's the super rare part. It doesn't happen. But that 1% that actually does pay the bill and does save 50%, the IRS sends you a tax bill for the 50% because it looks like you made money.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, even after all that and you think you're free and clear, all of a sudden you get a big tax bill by the IRS.
On top of the $9,000 fee you've paid them.
Yeah, the debt settlement company. So all around,
you're
they
right
just
back in
get
the same thing.
Yeah.
You're almost paying the exact full amount again.
Yeah, amazing.
And destroying your credit.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, of course, for Jane here, we have her stats. Now that we're helping her out and we're negotiating, she's in collection sadly, but we're still helping her out. And we're negotiating with the legal firms that are suing her. All the banks are suing her. So, but we are helping her out. So anybody who is in debt settlement, the good news is that we can help you. If you'll call us, if you'll contact us, email us, we will get in contact with you and we will do our best to help you out. Now, so Jane here, her debt was just over $36,000. Her interest rate was 24%. And it'll take her 31 years to pay off that debt, and she would have paid $54,000 in interest.
Correct.
Now, with Christian credit counselors, what are the stats there?
Again, by keeping the same bills, just by asking the credit card companies to lower the interest rates, which they do all the time, it takes it down to around 10% interest, and years to pay off is about 4.5 years to pay off, using the exact same dollars.
Yeah, and how much interest would she pay?
About $9,000.
Okay, so
$9,500.
Wow, so all of a sudden we've gone from $54,000 in interest down to $9,000, which is a saving for Jane of $45,000 in interest, and all for a small monthly fee of $35 per month.
Again.
Incredible. All right, so Greg, take us out with the 4 things that people should learn from today's program regarding debt settlement.
Well, I mean, the first thing is just say no to debt settlement. The model does not work. It does not help any consumer get out of debt. It only causes more trouble and makes them a ton of money.
Run from debt settlement.
The next thing is always read what you sign. I mean, when they hand you a 20-page document that's all typed up with phrases in there like maybe, could be, their opinion, no guarantees. I mean, there's nothing in there that promises you anything. Run from that. Don't sign it. Get a second opinion. The next thing you want to do is check with the BBB. Check with the Attorney General's office. I mean, there's a reason there's these departments set up, is to help consumers stay away from fraudulent companies. And the last thing is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's always been that way. They promise you, oh, you don't have to pay your bills, we'll save you a ton of money. It just doesn't happen.
Well, thank you so much, Greg, for coming on the show today, and certainly talking about debt settlement and just helping us to make the public and consumers aware of this nasty practice that is out there that people need to avoid.
Absolutely.
So appreciate your time again, and we're going to be right back in just a minute. Hey everybody, wasn't that a great interview? Some powerful, powerful reasons why to beware of debt settlement. We are so passionate about making sure that you as the consumer know what is out there and the kind of predatory companies that are out there that would try and fool you and try and get money out of you. So make sure that you look at our Elite 8, the 4 great do's, the 4 great don'ts. They will help you in your March Madness pursuit of getting out of debt. It's been so great to be with you again on GSP TV. God bless you, and I pray and hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you on next week's episode.